Greetings, everyone, and welcome! It is I, Cantus Naravan Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once again, one and all. We're discussing more Pathfinder today. Today, we're visiting a very interesting island nation that we're going to be learning about, Hermea. So, before we get started on that, though, remember I've been giving out shout-outs, of course, to our Twitch friends here who are over here joining us, and of course, to those of you who might be joining me on YouTube later on. Remember, for you guys, like the video, subscribe, ring the bell, and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, all the kind of same jazz over at Twitch stuff for support, too. Anyway, my question today is, have you ever dealt with Hermea? Certainly. We can see that there are some books that deal with Hermea or visit Hermea, and some adventures that deal with it to a degree. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that we have. But I'm curious if any of you out there haven't dealt. So as I usually do, I shout out some books that will give you some basic information, and there really are only a few books for you to look into that can give you some more research information. It's just an unfortunate thing that I think that in particular is the best place to look for. The Age of Ashes Adventure Path deals with the, which I'm not mentioning here, but I'm going to say it deals with the dragon at the heart of all this to a degree. Runs into that a little bit, so, and that's from 2019. So if you want to look more into the dragon that we're going to be talking about today, that's read it. But for Hermea itself, you definitely want to start looking in the Inner Sea World Guide and the campaign settings for your basic information. And I've got a little map of Varisia here, because if you can see all the way in the water, down in the corner, at Island, over near where you can kind of see, like, in the deep, deep corner of the screen, it's Hermea. That's where it is. So you're kind of off the coast of Varisia, Nidal, that entire region there, north of Cheliax. It is out on its own. It is a pretty decent-sized island out there. I thought this was a good place to show it. But what is Hermea? It's an isolated island nation. It's in the Steaming Sea, southwest of Varisia. It was uninhabited until 4552, when Mengkare, at the time a gold dragon, decided to use it as a site of a social experiment called the Glorious Endeavor. Now, it is important to note that dragons have changed drastically in the updated Player's Core, or the core revamp of Pathfinder rules. We no longer have chromatic and metallic dragons, so Hermea and some of the ways that he's displayed probably have changed. I am not aware of what type of dragon it is supposed to be right now. I cannot tell you. But in the old lore, it was a gold dragon. But assume that it's a different type of dragon now. The images are probably a little different. I'm going to use the old images for now. But assume we're in the age of the Player's Core. I just don't know which type of dragon it's supposed to be right now. No one has really said. Again, it's a dragon. It's there. It's in charge. It's doing a social experiment. It's in front of people. It was probably a trustworthy dragon. Keep all that facts in mind about this, and there will be probably slight updates to this, but I gotta be honest, probably most of the storyline is going to stay the same. It's pretty much just kind of things like that. And probably like I'm going to show the flag later, and the image of the dragon I'll choose, and those things will change. So what's the history of this place here, too? Because, well, basically it's at Mengkare's heart here. For a lot of centuries, Mengkare observed humanity embroiled in their strife and persistently failing to transcend its primal instincts and unlock its true potential. Many of us other fellow dragons disregarded humans. Mengkare remained captivated by their endurance and ingenuity. He believed with proper guidance, he could evolve into a civilization capable of everlasting peace and prosperity on this planet. He recognized that as a noble cause worthy of dedicating his life to. So he swiftly departed to this unoccupied island on the southern Steaming Sea, and he used the wealth he had amassed, because he was a great worm dragon, to establish Hermea, the nation devoted to his grand vision of uplifting a perfect humanity. Talk about the Glorious Endeavor in a moment. That's a topic we will talk about. Before we do, we can talk about the one major city on here, because there isn't a lot on this island except for one city. There's probably some small settlements here and there, but there's just one small city, Promise. It's the only significant settlement on Hermea. It's on the island's southern corner. It's well designed, extremely clean. Most of the buildings are built from white granite and marble. A sports dome and spires are among the most modern architectural that it has to offer. It's surrounded by red sandstone walls that rise 30 feet tall where they face the land and 100 feet tall when they face the coast to prevent outsiders from viewing the city from the sea. It has 12 districts, each with its own dedicated particular vocation. They're free to live where they want, but most live in a district corresponding to their job. The districts over the years have been named after 12 guides. Eridan. They're connected by sky bridges that magically boost the speed of those walking on them and are wide enough for Mengkare to walk upon. Stairs connect with the streets below. Large docks are the only ways to enter and leave, promised by water. Ships arrive regularly but are overseen by the Council of Enlightenment, and privateers are employed to get rid of uninvited guests. They don't really have a direct people in charge, and we'll talk about the Council of Enlightenment and talk about their government. Because it's the same government as, well, the country. So basically, in 4521, Breach Hill was a failure, so Mengkare traveled across here and recruited workers to build the city of his dreams. Basically, there were half-truths in what Mengkare was saying. The builders only knew they were building a utopia, nothing more, and so the city, after about 31 years, was founded. Promise. He spent some time, Mengkare did, inviting various humans who he wanted to get to Promise, reaching out to them via letters. He wanted this perfect utopia, and he wanted people for expertise, representative of the best of humanity. Unlimited time and resources were promised to them to care for their needs, encourage them towards self-fulfillment, but let them decide their major life decisions. And so, yeah. So most that came there chose to stay, inspired by his charisma and wisdom. City of Promise. There were those that refused this gift when they came and checked it out and went back home. And then were assassinated by Red Mantis assassins by Mengkare later on. Yep. So, over the years, Promise citizens have improved the city with Menkare's help, who's been very willing to cooperate with. And he's pleased with how easily the people accept his rule, basically. And fewer guests decline the proposal. And the number of dissidents constantly diminishes. We'll talk about economy and come back to Promise in a moment, too. Because again, I think the next thing that we have to talk about, now we've established Promise, it's the city, it shows kind of what this entire thing is. Let's talk about the glories in depth. Let's understand what this is. And this is the old image of Mengkare. Again, he's not a gold dragon, a great worm gold dragon anymore. He's another type of dragon, but is this? I don't know. He wants the perfect human race. It's on Hermea. He wants to make each generation healthier, more intelligent, more talented through both education and allowing the most enlightened citizens to have children. Most are human, though he does allow members of other races to occasionally include if they have particular skills or traits that are seen to be beneficial. His initial subjects were all volunteers. Since then, immigration has been carefully controlled and is by invitation only. Agents of Hermea, scour the world secretly looking for candidates. Prospective candidates may be studied for years before judgment is made. Those are judged who suitable by Mengkare are offered an opportunity to relocate there at the nation's expense. The candidates can take as long as necessary to decide, but the decision is final. Because there's a regular selection process, it means that only a few foreigners become citizens each year. In order to integrate, they are required to relinquish our prior nationalities and affiliations, including organizations' religious practices. But in return, they are guaranteed enduring access to abundant resources offered by Hermea, and a lifelong, unending luxury. It's a secluded society surrounded by elite communities of remarkable, aesthetically pleasing individuals. Residents are encouraged to wholeheartedly pursue their passions and inspirations of art, magic, science, or martial studies. The government oversees the lengthy courtship process between citizens in order to better manage the breeding program. Children born on Hermea are given the best possible education in whichever areas match their interests or abilities. Once they reach the age of 16, they are tested to see whether they're suitable to become citizens. Those who fail the test or decline the offer of citizenship are sent into permanent exile. Reasons for exile from Hermea encompass from a range of criteria, including possessing average intelligence, lacking clear life goals, exhibiting mental illness, having physical impairments, engaging in disruptive behavior. In some cases, the cause for banishment remains a mystery, and is both the unfortunate exiles and their families. Those immigrants and those born locally who accept the offer of citizenship sign the contract of citizenship, which recognize the ultimate authority of Mengkare. It is also possible for citizens to frequently drop below the required standard. Every error must be made to work with citizens to address the problem. But if not able to solve, the ultimate of citizens exile. We believe that exiled citizens are transported to the coast of Bastion, where left enough supplies to get them started on a new life. Believed. While numerous inhabitants of the Inner Sea region yearn for the distinction and opulence, not all of Mengkare's endeavors see his endeavors as noble. To many, the nation of a human breeding experiment is repugnant, regardless of the intended outcome. The idea of sundering personal autonomy is akin to enslavement. However, proponents swiftly find parallels to the customary practice of arranged marriage in various cultures, contending that the Hermean government is merely formalizing the tradition. Those advocates assert that through Mengkare holds absolute authority, he respects the intellect and self-reliance of his subjects, taking their preferences and happiness into consideration. Outside of Hermea, several major religions have condemned the project, especially those of Desna, Rascal, Serenade, and Shem. And that is the glorious endeavor under Mengkare. Doesn't this seem wonderful? This is a wonderful place to be. Now here's the flag. Again, it's got a dragon on it. It might be a different dragon if we kind of switch things around here. But let's talk about the government. Because Mengkare is control, and Hermea is governed for the greater good. It's a lawful neutral nature. And technically Mengkare is not lawful good anymore. Keep that in mind. According to lore, he is technically, at this point in time, not even lawful neutral. Lawful evil. And normally, that's a very different than what his type of dragon should be. Keep it fun. Again, that's probably a little wink wink nudge nudge, stuff that GMs will know more than players. The ultimate arbiter of this greater good is Mengkare, and every adult has signed this contract of citizenship recognizing this fact. Mengkare also has 2 draconic advisors that help him further the glorious endeavor. Both Mengkare and his direct representatives. Beneath these 3 is the elected Council of Enlightenment, who handle day-to-day government of the realm. They are 13 elected citizens. In addition, almost every citizen has some kind of official authority in the area of expertise. So the citizens govern themselves as much as possible to make use best of their talents and push forth the glorious endeavor. Now, Andoran, Drumar, Taldor have all sent ambassadors to Hermea to search for an alliance. All such overtures have been politely rejected, though Mengkare presented each ambassador with a sliver of golden crystal. These are potentially shards of a potent artifact known as a gold dragon orb. The old orb of dragonkind. Again, I don't know if that exists anymore in the current setup, so keep that in mind. But yeah, you can see how the government is pretty interchanged with everything. Now, getting back to the Council of Enlightenment for a minute. Those, Mengkare is on the Council of Enlightenment. So when I said 13, I said 13 and 12 elected members. They make their home in the Golden Citadel, one of the most impressive buildings in Promise. Each council member serves 3-year terms and must step down for at least 1 term before being eligible to re-elect. Most council members do not serve more than 2 terms. Elections are held annually, and candidates are pre-selected by Mengkare from those he deems most appropriate before the citizens vote. So, yeah. Now, after 4708, which was 16 years ago in the current timeline, after Rune Lord Karzog nearly managed to return to power, Mengkare recruited the Brine Dragons, Ultristia and Thalmalar, as his viziers. They briefly patrol the island to get rid of threats, unwanted visitors. Now, many members of the council felt betrayed by Menkare's choice, believing the council could correct security, but they do work with the Brine Dragons without grievances. Maybe misgivings at most. Now, what kind of economy does Hermea have? Certainly, this was all funded by Menkare's massive amount of wealth. How does the island earn money in this massive amount of prosperity it has? Well, first of all, the island showcases remarkably efficient agriculture initiatives. Its economic foundation primarily rests upon the expertly crafted goods and knowledge. The bustling harbor promise, the sole city in the nation, teems with merchants and scholars, and all commerce activities take place in its docks, as access to the city's towering sandstone walls is limited for outsiders. The majority of profits generated from these endeavors are claimed by the state, yet citizens of Hermea have no concern about financial matters. Each individual can request whatever they require, recognizing that Hermean society places equal value on a poet dedicated to its craft, being the perfect sonnet, a wizard skilled in creating magical artifacts, or a warrior who ventures to distant realms to vanquish formidable monsters. They're all technically equal. So yes, currency's non-existence, citizens give and take as they want. That scholar's theorem is as valuable as a fisherman's catch, and share them all. And dissonants who cannot hide their true opinions would quietly disappear, never to be seen from again. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Keep that in mind. Again, as I said, mostly humans, but the other people that are here. There are some dwarfs, printed a hardy constitution. Elves, for the valued their ability to produce Avorians, whom Mengkare finds more attractive than humans. Gnomes are sometimes recruited to teach magic, but most succumb to bleaching. Mengkare views halflings for movements and novelties, and only invites them as visiting entertainers. Disruptive species like goblins are banned from promise, and unfortunately there's a lot of prejudice that many of the higher echelons of the city share with Mengkare. And religion is forbidden, except for a small group of Abadarian clerics and champions who assist in trade and commerce. So there you go. Now that kind of gives us an idea of life. A peaceful, comfortable, progressive world. An envy of the planet. The communal place where everything you want is ever wanted. The island is defended, though. You only go to that dock if you're a foreigner. That's it. Most are turned away. And you risk Menkare's wrath, or his assistance there. Now, the Pathfinder Society has landed 2 expeditions on the island. Neither one has returned. So even if you try to infiltrate by stealth, yeah. But yes, certainly Hermean society is not a perfect utopia. Definitely foreign sailors perceive the undercut of fear beneath its citizens' apparent contentment. And there are tales of rebels against Menkare's rules out in the forest on the far side of the island. You know, and some people are wondering if the charred corpses that sometimes wash up on the shores are really the work of pirates. Are they? But with a lot of people seeing it as an opulent place to live, you know, even if they don't see Menkare's endeavor as noble, it's tempting. It's tempting. So yeah. But there's Hermea. A very interesting place. A social and biological experiment run by a very powerful dragon who, certainly speaking, volunteered a lot of people, but also it's this interesting fact that how many people end up dead that have resisted Hermea's call and stop by there. Certainly, if you resist the call and don't show up at all, well, maybe you're better off. Or maybe not. Mengkare is very forceful, getting what he wants. And yes, once you're there, maybe it is a very hands-off society, but it's a contractual dictatorship under a dragon. That's what it is. And its strange ideology, idealism of a perfect society, I don't know. It's not my place to determine whether that they're actually going in the right process for that, or if it's a madness brought about by a dragon corrupted by some kind of influence. You know, the glorious endeavor is just that, a seeming madness. And, Mengkare, well, officially became, according to information and lore, lawful evil as of 4552, the same year that Hermea was settled. Ultimate power corrupts. And in this case, it might just have, to a degree, corrupted this dragon. So for 275 or so years now, or like 270-ish years, the nation's been there. It's been developing. I don't know what will continue with this one. It's an interesting social experiment, and certainly things like breaking in, dealing with Hermea, becoming visiting there for a reason. There's a lot of storylines that could be seen, and very dangerous ones. There's a very powerful ancient dragon that sits on the top of that. It's got some very powerful dragons underneath it. So, certainly there's a lot of opportunities for adventure here, but also just an interesting story. We'll leave it there, though, because I think most of what Hermea is says it for itself. I certainly am not in a position to make decisions on Hermea, but I certainly wouldn't want to live there. Contract and all doesn't sound like an actual utopia. I'd rather struggle out in the world. But that's just me. That's an interesting idea. Would you take up this theoretical breeding program, contractual servitude to this island if given the opportunity, if everything was provided for you, as long as you didn't dissent and went along with it? It's the ultimate temptation. And it's what it is. It's a thing that, honestly speaking, if you're reading that contract of citizenship, you probably know what you're getting into. You're not being caught off guard by the fact that you're basically surrendering to this nation and going along with all its plans. It's part of joining. So, it's an interesting question. Anyway, if you want to check out any more tabletop-related topics or anything like that, every Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and backup day, because I missed one of those in the early to mid-afternoons, I talk about tabletops. Thursdays more of the Pathfinder one. And then I also have Crimson Queen, which is a first edition Pathfinder live play show on Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. We play a adapted version of the Curse of the Crimson Throne adventure path. Very been fun. We're almost halfway done it. And then Saturdays at 6 all EST times is discussing tabletop. We talk about news of the week and into some deeper discussion topics in the tabletop world, which really I would highly recommend. Even if you don't want to check out the news section of it, always go check out the deeper discussion topics. It's really great for getting into some interesting topics to help you be a better player or GM, or deal with some of the issues that you might arise with while you're playing the game, and address them, and discuss how you can get through them. I have social media, Discord, Twitter, link down below, twitter.com. And then, I do some other streams over on Twitch, but all the tabletop stuff goes up on YouTube a couple of days later. So if you can't join me live, which I would love, you can still check it out on YouTube. Usually a day or two later, sometimes having to schedule things a little. Alright, I'm going to get going. Again, thank you all. This was a very interesting and very unique topic, because it is a very unique island in Golarion. But it goes to show you that the world of Golarion is very unique with many of its countries and has very different ways of doing things. And yeah, some details are probably going to be altered as player core, monster core kind of continues and finishes up, but the main point of it is that Mengkare is probably not a gold dragon anymore. What he is, I don't know. I'd have to do deep dive into all the different types of dragons, which I haven't actually done yet in the monster core. So, I'm not going to be aware of which one would really be the announced. The one analogically closest to. Anyway, still, until the next time we do any of this, I bid all of you deep and wonderful farewell.